So it is, and so it shall be. Amen. So as Carol shared today, we are going to be discussing the divine power of power. And I'd like to start us off with a movie clip from The Blind Side that has much metaphor. So here we go.
Right. Pick him up on that shit. Roll three. Let's go. Boy, you got 100 pounds on Collis and you can't keep him out of our backfield? Hold your block until the whistle blows. Hold it. All right, let's go.
What's with the camera?
Michael always does better when he sees what he's supposed to be doing.
Holding. Left tackle.
Michael, come on.
Four. Come here, son.
There's one bleep, sorry.
Hold him inside here between the tits. You got it? Will you look at me, son? If you grab him outside here like this with that horse collar thing you just did, you're gonna get flagged and I'm gonna be pissed. You hear me? All right, let's go.
Baby, wash my stuff, all right?
Okay.
Well, at least he'll look good coming off the bus. They'll be terrified till they realize he's a marshmallow. Looks like Tarzan plays like Jane.
Give me a minute, Bert.
We're in the middle of practice, Leanne.
You can thank me later. Come here. Michael, do you remember when we first met and we went to that horrible part of town to buy you those dreadful clothes? And I was a little bit scared and you told me not to worry about it because you had my back. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And if anyone tried to get to me, you would have stopped them, right? And when you and SJ were in that car wreck, what did you do to the airbag?
Stopped it.
You stopped it. You stopped it. This team is your family, Michael. You have to protect them from those guys, okay? Listen. Okay. Tony here's your quarterback, all right? You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me, how you have my back, how you have his, okay? All right, Tony, go back. All right. Oompa Loompa here is your tailback. When you look at him, you think of SJ and how you've never let anyone or anything hurt him. You understand me? All right, go back. Got it?
What about Collins and Mr. Tui?
Fine, they can be on the team too. Are you gonna protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Good boy. Then go have some fun. Yelling at him doesn't work, Bert. Doesn't trust men. His experience, they pretend to care about you till they disappear.
Wanna run a play?
SJ, you're gonna wanna get this.
Okay. Come on, Michael.
All right, Michael, come on. That boy.
Hey, get over here. Let's go. Everybody know my move. You got to stand there.
Come on, son. Okay. What'd you say to him?
You should get to know your players, Bert. He tested 98% in protective instincts. I said you could thank me later. It's later, Bert.
If you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie, and it's based on a true story, actually. So here we see the metaphor for how, from American societal and cultural standards, we view power. Power is about winning, about dominance, control, and it's about, brute force, strong force, physical strength. I don't know if you also know that commercial from Planet Fitness. I pick things up and I put things down, this like big muscle guy who moves things. But also we see here throughout the clip the epitome of that definition that we hold in our human consciousness about what power is. And Bert does that, We see him on the sidelines, yelling at Michael, saying, come on, like, you got 100 pounds on all of these people. What's wrong with you? Like, you're powerful, like, get with it. And then when he goes out into the field, he's with aggression. He grabs him by the shirt and he's, yelling, and you got to grab him like this. You got to be aggressive. You got to do this. You got to do that. And then he makes comments on the sidelines like, oh, wait till the other team sees them coming off the bus. They're going to they're going to be terrified. And then they're going to find out he's just a marshmallow. And then he makes another statement, right? Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane, right? And so all of these descriptions also is written in what, I don't know if you've ever heard of David Hawkins. He wrote a book entitled Power versus Force. And he makes a distinction between force, that Bert epitomizes, and that is to exercise dominance or superiority to achieve a result. And it is used to aggression. It relies on fear, coercion, manipulation. Let me shake some, come on, wake up, where's your aggression? And then we see, all right, when she grabs Oompa Loompa or whatever she calls that guy, might be a little bit of aggression there. But for the most part, she knew, right? She knew the truth about what motivated Michael from within. And she had that knowing from within and approached it from that standpoint. And we know that the power comes from within, and it's based on things such as integrity and courage and compassion. And again, Luann knows that, right? She walks over. First, she is one of the aspects of power we're going to get into is about confidence. She walked like nobody else out on that field, and she was confident. She never studied football or wasn't trained to be a coach, but what did she have the inner knowing of is what made Michael tick about what he values, that he values protecting the family, care and support of the family. And then she dared for him to have fun, and it wasn't about aggression. And she also knew that one of the things that he would resist would be men that are, or anybody, but especially men with aggression, right? He would become like a marshmallow because that is not something that is in alignment with which he knows who he is. So we see that tapping in. So we see these characteristics in Luann that are actually, and what David Hawkins speaks to about power that resonate or that are in alignment with Unity's teaching about one of our 12 spiritual powers, our power of power, also called our power of dominion, also called our power of mastery. We like to have several words for everything, but nevertheless, and actually our power of power is the power of all powers, right? We see here that it is about our self-mastery. And so it is about knowing that we have these innate God-like qualities within, that they are imbued within us. And so we can tap into them from a conscious place, tap into all of the 12 powers, power of all powers, so we can learn how to master them from the highest place in consciousness. So as we hone in on our power of power, it is our ability to demonstrate self-mastery, and I'm going to go into more detail. It is our ability to focus and concentrate on that which we desire to have and give expression to in our life. It is our ability to claim dominion over our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and to act like Loanne, with confidence, not from the place of cockiness or whatever, but that inner knowing. And it is to embody spiritual authority. Spiritual authority means, yes, I know there's only one power and one presence. Jesus spoke of the kingdom of God is within. That power comes from within. And I am going to dare to center myself that knowing if there's only one power and one presence, and as I center myself in the truth, as we see the opening song, I am the light, I am the light, I am the light of the world. That sounds lovely and flowery for an opening song on unity, but do we become like, nah, I'm not that, right? That's blasphemous. We've talked about that many times here. Or do we hold with that humility, but yet knowing I'm going to step out? I know that I have these powers and these gifts imbued within me, and I'm going to stand in the confidence of that. And what happens sometimes, which I'll speak about a little bit more later, is we think if fear surfaces, oh, I'm not confident. It is what we choose to do. Dominion says, I see this thought, this fear thought. I'm not going to fight it. I see it, but I know I'm going to pivot because it is not the truth of me. And I'm going to pivot to that which I want to express as the light. And then, so it's when we stand in our I am, we know the truth, spiritual authority, and it is also the power of the spoken word. We can use and give voice to things, right? That inspire, that uplift, that can be healing, things that we're passionate about, and we speak truth with a capital T. Not this, I'm going to go give them a piece of my mind and tell them my truth, and then we go rip them from the top to the bottom. Now, we do voice our needs, our integrity, so it doesn't mean I don't say, hey, Mary Sue, when you called me a bleepity bleep, I didn't like that. I felt upset. One of the things I value is respect. That's quite different than I'm still standing in the truth of me. I don't stuff it because I'm spiritual, but I say it as I am centered in my wholeness and knowing that truth, right? That is giving voice to what is T, capital truth, what we value, and what is alive in us from the highest place possible. So one of the things also Charles Fillmore knew, all those years co-founder of Unity back in the 1800s, he too also knew, like David Hawkins, that when we are centered, in our human consciousness, that's the wording that Charles Fillmore says, that we misunderstand what power is. And so he shares this. Today, humankind is striving to acquire power through money, legislation, and man-made government, and falling short because they have not mastered themselves. What do you think it means to master themselves? You can put it in the chat. You can, if you choose to share here. Carol, Just use the mic so they can hear you on Zoom. And Carol is exhibiting confidence. The power of power. Go for it.
Is taking your thoughts and your consciousness to a place of truth, and then that's what you express from.
Beautiful. Excellent. Anybody else? Anything in the chat, Matt? Yes. Thank you, Deborah. Did you want to share, Vinny?
Yeah, I think mastering the power of myself or ourselves is about loving yourself.
So crucial, right? Without it, right? If we don't have that love and knowing about ourselves, from what place will we come?
Being kind to yourself when you need to be kind.
Yes.
Being thoughtful of yourself when you need to be that way.
Yes.
And connecting to a greater power that brings that through you and leaves it inside.
Mm-hmm. Knowing that it is.
Knowing that it's there.
It's just quickened. It's on fire. Yes.
It takes work sometimes.
It takes practice and concentration. Power. Yes. And so I want to just add, is anything in Zoom before I go on? Okay, so it also is, Charles Fillmore also, and he's not the only spiritual mystic teacher that shared this. You need to know the truth of thyself. And he says, know the who from the what, right? The who is our humanity, our personality self, that which we have been domesticated in through our families, our culture, our gender, so on and so on. And he said, he also know the what of you that is unchangeable. No matter what you experience, you are the fullness and wholeness of the divine in human form. So when we can be mindful of every moment and exercise dominion, from what place in consciousness am I coming? But it takes mindfulness, right? It takes mindfulness. I was in the going to the acupuncturist the other day, and I'm in the elevator, and I was in a little bit of a grumpy mood, I have to say. And someone comes barreling into the elevator, wasn't paying attention, and knocked into me. And so I wanted to say something unkind. I took a deep breath, and I said, "Excuse me." And she said, "I am so sorry. I didn't see you." And I wanted to say, "That's because you weren't looking," but I chose not to. And then I just simply said, "I need to get out of the elevator. Would you please move to the side?" Because she's standing right in front of the doorway. Anyway, so needless to say, in any moment we have that opportunity, and especially when we're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, you know, those are the times where we can forget, right? And we come from reaction rather than pivoting, right? Let me take a deep breath and pivot, or maybe I won't say anything because I can't pivot right now, so silence might be golden. And so I love what Paul Hasselbeck writes in The Point of Power, one of his books on the 12 powers, is that he teaches that, you know, the 12 powers, which is, he's not the only one, they're innate. They're within us all. So it's not like they're always working, but it's from what place in consciousness are they being activated. We sometimes are on a subconscious level, we don't even realize it, right? Now, if I would have, you know, came from not being mindful and used my words to rip into that person, I would have probably been coming from what they call egocentric power. So anyway, this is like the Goldilocks thing, I call that. So we have the undeveloped power, right, where we're, you know, like we want to step away, you know. And And then we have the egos, like the grandiosity. And then we have when we're centered in spiritual consciousness, too little, too much, just right. Goldilocks, right? Spiritual conscious. So I'm going to go over what that looks like in each of those. So undeveloped, it is. So now I'm going to see if you could exercise your power to focus only on this side. So anyways, I promise we will get to the spoken word. And if anybody, I know everybody here is different. Some people like to write things down. You could take a picture. Some people are like, I just want to listen. If anybody ever wants a copy of the slides, you just need to let me know either in the chat or in an email. So I'll talk about that later. So inability to master things easily. And usually that comes from the inability to focus and concentrate. That would be like, oh, I got this great idea to, I'm going to paint the living room. And then I start painting the living room. I'm getting bored with that. I leave the rest of the room undone. It's like, you know what? I want to build a workshop in the garage. And so then I start doing something in the garage. I'm bored with that. You know what? I'm going to go plant a garden in the backyard. And that could be for anything else, right? We have this divine idea. We get sidetracked. I'd rather watch TV. I'd rather, go ride my motorcycle. Not that there's anything wrong, but we cannot sustain a single focus that it takes to master that which is alive in us. And in this society, we have this, I can multitask, right? Especially if you're ever been a mother at any point and worked. And, it's like, we pride ourselves on this multitasking. And science shows that we can't. We actually we move our attention from one to the other, but because we're preoccupied, we're really not fully present in any one of those. Yeah, we may get a glimpse of it. So it's really like having a zeroed in focus and clarity to attain that mastery. Yes?
I was able to do 50 things at one time. And that anxiety that's created as a result of that is really not good. So whenever I find myself going from one thing to another, I just remind myself, one thing at a time.
That's an awesome mantra. It is. It just reminds you. And that's what we call pivot, right? Yep, I'm noticing this, let me pivot for that higher place of knowing. Wonderful, great example. And when we're in that undeveloped power, that not understanding and fully stepping into it, we see like the external world has all the power over us, right? Appearances have power over us. What's happening with my job will determine whether I'm happy or not. What's happening within my family will determine my day on any given day. And so we learn that again, that no one or no thing, yes, does it mean that we don't sense things, get upset over things? But then it comes back to who has the power? I have the power. I think there's a soul. I got the power. Where it comes within. That little sense of confidence. Oh, no. Oh, you look nice. Oh, no, I don't. Comes from victim, right? Victim of other people and circumstances. Does not voice what is valued. Do you ever hear like stuffing your voice? And usually it will come from the speak will be about blame, or it could be about, stuffing, so to speak. So here are some of the things you might hear when you're centered in an undeveloped power. You are making me a nervous wreck. You're breaking my heart. You drive me to drink. You are the cause of my depression and my poor health. Without you, my life would be empty. I'm not free, fill in the blank, because I don't have enough money. I can't go on vacation because, my father's in the hospital. I can't feel joy unless, come on, someone fill it in. If I have a lot of money. Anybody in the chat? I can't feel joy unless there's another person in my life. Excellent. Unless I have pizza. I love you, Vinny. Yes, it could be that simple. I'm sorry, somebody I spoke over here? Unless I get a promotion, Deirdre. Unless I get a promotion, yes. So taking any one of these is, you're breaking my heart. Maybe your partner left. Oh, I feel like my heart is broken. I am sad and disappointed. I might even be a little angry. And I'm going to really, there might be something I need to say to the person when I'm centered, but it's not someone, didn't do it because somebody left you didn't care. And you're like, thank God that's over. I'm not saying you would question why you're in the relationship, but you understand. Okay, so now we move into the ego, the grandiose. That is the controlling and domineering kind of behavior, right? The boss who wants to be in charge, or someone who's on a team that sees that their way is the only way, and, snap, snap, overbearing, oppressive. So here before, in the underdeveloped, we saw that, distractibility, right? Can't focus. Here is a hyper focus where you can't let go. Do you ever really affirmed something in prayer and then you're kept it up and there was no letting go, or you applied for maybe a job and you're every 2 seconds checking the email, did they reply to me? So on and so on. So there's that hyper focus. Impatient with others who are not as skillful or trained or gifted just like you. Come on, we know some of these, and maybe some of us have been showing up in these ways. Forces ideas and brings about the results they desire, often at the expense of others. Speaks to oppress, control, manipulate, win, prove their importance. We see that on that Palm Sunday when the Roman soldiers were entering Jerusalem, which was going to be right before Passover. They were in the gear, right? Horseback, swords, armor, intimidation. We're in control. You are the peons. And then Jesus on a donkey in all his meekness coming in, he was centered in his power. He spoke truth to power to the Roman soldiers. But he did that from within, not to control, not to dominate, but to speak truth. These people are worthy. They have sacred worth, which was intimidating. So what would be something reflected in the spoken word from somebody who is egocentric? I alone have the answers. I alone can fix it. These people are clueless. You're a loser. They're a loser. What are you, stupid? What's wrong with you? I don't care about your opinion. It's irrelevant. If you don't do what I say, there will be consequences. And there's other forms of this, right? Children can be seen and not heard. Anybody hear that growing up? Right? Disciplining through what? Scare, force. Yeah, and that was what they did in the generations, right? If you don't eat all your breakfast, I'm going to tell your teacher, and they're going to make fun of you. It's like, what? Michael. Some of it, not all of it, because there's yes, Michael said that that can fall into narcissism. Yes, it can. But I know people who are not quote unquote narcissists, but this is the training, you know? How about just even child rearing? You're bad just by taking a cookie when they're not supposed to. That's not narcissistic behavior, it's just what they've been taught. Scare, fear, you know? And so yes, it could be, but it also can be what we have been conditioned to think. How about, when you're trying to apply for a job and there might be like now they have interviews where you're in a circle and you're being asked questions at a time. And so you might want to like impress or after somebody said something, I think that's like a limited or kind of like uncreative view. Let me tell you, it could be like that. And then we move into the Goldilocks, just right, or from our spiritual consciousness. And Emily Cady, the author of Lessons in Truth, which was the first primer book that was used by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, she spoke this: God is not a being that expresses power. God is power itself. We are that divine power expressing powerfully. We get to choose, right? Will, choice. How will I use my power? From what place in consciousness? So when we are centered in spiritual consciousness, we do it to master new ideas and new skills. It could be learning these, understanding these powers, pivoting, using our power, mastering when, know thyself. I know, this is how my personality shows itself. And I know when I'm centered in my truth, like mastering that. It could be simple as mastering playing the piano. My son and his fiance just came back from Italy. They were studying Italian, mastering a language, focusing on a skill, focusing how to create or write a new song, so on and so on. And again, it's that single layer focus, It doesn't mean you don't do many things in your day, but when I'm working on this divine idea, I'm going to focus on this. No distractions. And I'm going to give myself a period of time. Dominion, like we talked to, over our self-limiting thoughts, feelings, and beliefs and patterns, and the ability to pivot away. I love this. How many of you get frustrated when an old pattern comes up, you see it appearing in your life, or somebody, you allow your buttons to be pushed every time you're with somebody and you don't exercise, speaking clearly yet powerfully, right? And so, yeah, did you want to share or are you just raising your hand? And so what I love is, right, or if you're doing meditation, I hear from so many people, I can't stay focused. So they make that mean that there's something wrong with them. It is part of our humanity. So if I'm in meditation, instead of like, there's that thought again, take a deep breath, let me pivot. So I'm going to have my key word, thinking, Or maybe my word is divine love. Okay, there's that thought, pivot, divine love. It's a much kinder, gentler, just a gentler way, right? And then it is our confidence. This is alive in me, and I'm going to dare to be confident to share it. It is alive in me to create this song, but I am scared as hell to sing for the first time. But I'm going to notice the fear. I'm going to breathe into it. Oh, you're stepping out and doing something new. But nevertheless, I am going to stand in the truth of my being, the confidence of what is most alive, and I will focus on sharing this song to inspire others. Instead of wrestling with the fear. Sometimes we think like, oh my gosh, we're going to arrive when I have no fear at all. How many of you have never, like, how is that working for many of you? Right? I mean, we do fear it less, probably. And so it is also, yes, we give voice to inspire, to heal, to uplift. We speak truth. We speak what is important, what we value instead of swallowing it. But we do it in a way where we are embodying our divine power of love. Not meaning, I love that, I like it. It means I'm going to harmonize my thoughts, my words, and actions to come from the highest place in consciousness as I speak what is alive to me in a respectful way. It may not be, I'm going to agree with the person. And sometimes it means I'm going to agree to disagree as I'm embodying that. No, I don't really agree with that, but I don't need to rip you a new one because it's different than my opinion. Right? So embody spiritual authority. That's when we're living from that verti consciousness of knowing I am, that I am, that I am. Yes, the light of power is available and is me, the light of love. And that's when we say, let me be the light. I am the light. And I think I've given voice to some other like ordinary everyday things in life. You know, I've noticed that I have been, the last 3 promotions, I've been passed over and it went to someone else. I'm feeling a little frustrated, and I was wondering if we can talk about, you know, a promotion and what that would look like, right? Instead of what? Talking smack to my spouse, talking smack to the coworkers. Right? We use our voice differently. It takes a lot of confidence and courage, doesn't it? Okay, so I'd like to close with 2 things. And one of them is written by Linda Martello Whitsitt, who wrote Divine Audacity, which is about our 12 spiritual powers. And this is an invitation for us to cloak ourselves in that energy and that knowing and the truth that that power is within. And she writes this: I energetically cloak myself with spiritual authority. I sense the distinction between my human personality and my infinite self or divine identity directed into service. I reduce my focus on my personality, which means I turn away my attention away from how I am dressed, away from myself, example of my attire, or concern about forgetting what is important to say. And I come completely interested in what is important, what will uplift, what will provoke, and what will inspire. I become interested in presence, knowing the presence, being the presence. So my friends, I invite you this week to have a single focus, spending time, whether it's 5 minutes out of the day, to reflect. How are you? From what place in consciousness are you energizing your power of power? And to notice, even as you move through your day, and to make that pivot when you feel called to choose again, as they would say in Course in Miracles, right? And so now we're going to move into meditation, and I'm going to start us by sharing as the music begins to play. I'm going to be sharing a poem entitled Awakening to Spiritual Power, written by John O'Donohue. And bringing that laser focus, the laser focus of attention to your breath. Focusing on the inhalation and the exhalation. noticing the warmth as it fills your nostrils, and the energy and vibration of its exhalation. At any time my mind wanders, I will simply say, thinking, and pivot back. Breathing in and breathing out, centering myself in my heart space. And if it feels right, I invite you to place one of your hands over your heart as you sense the breath, as you breathe, imagining, sensing the breath flowing out from your heart with every breath and with every inhalation and exhalation. With every breath, allowing yourself to open to the divine light and love that you are, the embodiment of power. And allowing yourself to take in these beautiful words of John O'Donohue. In each heart lies a heaven. In each soul a shining star. In each mind a memory of who and what we are. Oh, we sometimes wander in a wilderness, seeking truth in distant lands. Yet the treasure we are seeking lies within our own two hands. Awakening to spiritual power. We realize we are divine. Each breath a sacred rhythm. Each heartbeat a timeless sign. No longer lost in shadows, we dance in the light of day. Embodying our essence, we find our sacred way. So let us walk as beauty, as reverence, as grace, embracing our true nature, discovering and knowing our sacred place. And oh, in the temple of our hearts, let us hear the sacred call to embody our spiritual power. Let us rise, let us stand, and when need be, let us fall and surrender. But in the falling, we find rising. In the darkness, we find light. Embracing our true nature, we reclaim our sacred sight. For in each heart lies a heaven, in each soul a shining star. Let us, oh, let us embody our spiritual authority as we realize who and what we are in the stillness. Breathing in and breathing out, and affirming, I am the light of divine spiritual power. I am the light of divine spiritual power, claiming dominion over my thoughts, my words, my beliefs, and my actions. And as I stand with spiritual authority, I allow my words to inspire, to uplift, to be a source of compassion, speaking truth to power when need be, for I am the light. I am the light of spiritual power. And so it is. And so I shall let it be. Amen. Breathing in and breathing out. Rubbing your hands together, feeling the energy and presence of the mysterious one, placing it over our hearts, sensing the divine light within, and hands out, allowing the light from within to merge in our consciousness, knowing that our light together is mighty. So it is. And I invite you, when you are ready, to open your eyes. And I wish you a blessed day and a week. And I call Carol back up.